our next speaker. So Claudine Thornhill is a naturopathic nutritionist, a wellness coach, and owner of Claudine J. Thornhill Nutrition, which helps to make people feel, think, and be better. Claudine is a women's health specialist, primarily focusing on supporting her clients to balance hormones, manage weight, increase energy, and thrive through stress. By empowering women to make healthier food and lifestyle choices, Claudine's clients are able to take charge of their health and ultimately their lives. Can we give a big round of applause for Claudine?
Thank you.
Just before we get started, while we get the sisters' slides up, when you go for the break, if you, during the presentation when people are coming in and out, it might be a good idea to move to the ends so that you're not, move to the walls, sorry, instead of the ends, so you're not getting pushed out of the way when people come in. If you didn't get a chance to answer your questions now, again, we are going to be having the panel discussion later, so you can ask questions at that point as well.
Hormone harmony, that one.
How have you found the talk so far? I won't be offended, some other speakers, to be honest.
Yeah, how do I, yeah, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So, as Leah said, my name's Claudine Thornhill, and I'm a nutritional therapist and health coach specialising in women's health. So, what we're going to be focusing on today is going back to hormone imbalance. I'm going to try not to repeat anything too much, and we can kind of get to the heart of things. But what I'm going to be talking about is hormones and what they actually are. What happens when things go wrong with hormones and we have hormone imbalance, and what happens when things go right as well. And then I'm going to move on to giving you some tips about how we can live in hormone harmony through diet, lifestyle, and then leaving you with 5 top tips so you can actually go away and do some things practically today to work to balance your hormones. So, first of all, hormones, what are they? Does anybody have a description for what hormones are? Okay, silence. Go ahead.
It's the chemical release that from your mind,
Yeah.
from your brain, and it's particular points which are chemicals that make changes in your body.
Yes.
Alter at different points, depending on where you're at. So it could be when they talk about homeostasis and balance, or they're talking about the growth hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Different hormones play different parts in your development throughout your life.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for helping out. Right. So I will repeat what she's... I will repeat, yeah. So essentially, I'll summarise by saying hormones are chemical messengers, like the lady said, and they have an effect on different areas of the body. So there are receptor sites on our cells, and the cells are the smallest part of any of our body, combined to make organs, bones, eyes, and all that kind of thing. There are receptor sites on our cells. Those receptor sites receive whatever is being given out, whether it's insulin, whether it's hormone, whether it's estrogen, and that then creates some kind of reaction in the body. And usually it's something to kickstart a process, basically. So essentially, they're chemical messages that kickstart a process or regulate a process. I'm just going to talk about a few hormones and what their roles are in the body. So first of all, one of the hormones you might have heard about is cortisol. Anybody know what cortisol is involved in? Right, yeah. So we call it the stress hormone, although it has loads of other functions in the body. But essentially, when we are stressed, cortisol levels would generally be high, and then that has effects throughout the body. And the reason for that is because receptor sites for cortisol are all over the body, compared to receptor sites for estrogen, which are mainly in the breast tissue, the uterus. Receptor sites for cortisol are all over the body, which means that cortisol, the hormone, can have an impact on various areas of the body. What cortisol can do, so cortisol is quite safe, or it's actually quite protective in in levels of low stress or when we're dealing with stress for a short period of time. So it's involved in what you've probably heard of the flight or fight response. So when we're under immediate threat of danger, what happens is that cortisol kicks in, it makes our brain more alert, it brings energy to the fore so that our energies can go into our muscles so we're able to run or fight run from or fight a particular threat. Other areas that aren't so other functions that aren't so critical to moving away from a threat, such as digestion, such as reproduction, such as going to the toilet, those things are kind of put on hold because your body is trying to get away from the perceived threat. So what happens is when we're in a state of chronic stress, ongoing stress, and there is actually no physical threat, but we are under stress, these things then carry on, these processes carry on in terms of heightened brain activity, our energy levels being really high and trying to get that energy into the muscles to be able to run from or fight a threat. That continues to go on, and that has a detrimental effect on our body because then other systems, like I was talking about, our digestion, our reproduction, our sleep-wake cycle and things like that are all negatively affected. Okay, yeah, so there's a summary there. Also, our weight is affected as well because of what I was saying with the energy being produced. Because our body is trying to use our fuel to fuel our muscles to run from or fight a threat. If there is no perceived threat and we're not using that energy, it gets stored. We have an excess amount of fat or sugar. It gets converted into, it goes into our fat cells to be stored, ready to be used. If it's not used, it will be stored, particularly in the midsection. Then we've got insulin, which we heard as well. So insulin is mainly responsible for blood sugar regulation. It essentially works by, so let's say we eat a meal. This isn't a normal, healthy situation. We eat a meal, our blood sugar levels go higher. And what happens there is that insulin kicks in, recognizes that our blood sugar levels have gone higher, kicks in and moves the sugar or the fuel from our food, from our bloodstream into the muscles to fuel muscle activity. When we have chronically high levels of sugar in our bloodstream, two things kind of happen. One is that because there's so much insulin being produced over a long period of time, the receptor sites that recognize insulin, they become less sensitive because insulin's hanging around all the time. So it's like, okay, you're back again, no need for me to do anything, basically. So they become less sensitive. And two is that the pancreas that produces insulin, it gets overworked, it gets burnt out, and eventually it will stop working. And that's when you have a case of type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is when your blood sugar levels are consistently high to a dangerous level. Okay. And again, it affects weight because if we're not using that energy that's in the bloodstream, if it's not moving into the cells because the receptor sites are not working anymore, it gets stored around the middle. Okay. And also tired and we're getting fatigued as well because the energy is not being able to move from the blood into the muscles. It's being stored in the middle rather than being used by our muscles. Then we've got the thyroid. So the thyroid produces its own hormones as well. It's involved in regulating our heartbeat, our breathing, the way we use energy, the way that we use oxygen as well. And you've probably heard of hypo and hyperthyroidism or overactive or underactive thyroid. And that's basically where the body is producing too little or too much of those thyroid hormones. And these are some of the, these are the things that it kind of is involved in. And actually hypothyroidism, which is low or underactive thyroid, is more prevalent in women and also older people over 60 as well. And then finally, we've got estrogen, which we all have heard about. And estrogen is responsible for the development and the management of our reproductive systems. Estrogen is protective for the heart. It's also protective for the bones as well. So that's where we find where older women, where their estrogen levels are lower, they might be more at risk of developing osteoporosis and brittle bones and things like that. So estrogen is protective. But estrogen, the thing about it is there are 3 forms of estrogen that could be circulating in our body. So our body produces estrogen, it does what it needs to do, and it's converted twice. The final form of estrogen, we need to be excreting that out of our body. What can happen is that final form of estrogen also is very active, highly active, more active than the first form that we were using when we were maybe kicking off our monthly cycle and things like that. So the third form that we're left with is highly active, and this is what causes issues within the body. So, because estrogen also is responsible for cellular growth. So when we've got things like fibroids, if we're not excreting that highly active form of estrogen, this is where we come into problems. We need to make sure we're excreting that out. Okay, so in summary, these are some of the things that happen when things go wrong. So I've touched on weight quite a bit, and it's because of multiple reasons. It's because of the cortisol being high, and your body storing that energy around your middle to be able to run from the threat or fight it. It's also caused by insulin maybe not being, or insulin resistance, that basically that's when the cells aren't responding to the insulin effectively enough. And again, the energy or the fuel isn't moving to your muscles, and it's actually being stored around the middle. What else can that be for? That can be for lack of sleep as well. So there are hormones involved in sleeping and waking. If we're not sleeping, we're not getting quality and adequate sleep, it will lead to weight gain as well. Also, when we're stressed, we're not making the best food choices as well anyway. We're going to be craving carbohydrates, we're going to be craving sugar, we're going to be craving fat, again, just to be able to respond to the energy needs that we have. So this is the reason why we have weight gain, heavy, irregular, painful bleeding. That can be linked to the high levels of estrogen circulating as well, and womb health issues. Inflammation comes in for a number of reasons as well, and joint pains. Again, cortisol, that could be the main one. So generally when we're stressed, our posture isn't good. We're going to be hunched up like this. We might be clenching our jaw, just tension in the body. So that can cause joint pains, headaches as well, tension headaches, but also inflammation going on as well. Malabsorption and digestive issues. So if we are stressed again and cortisol is high, our body isn't focused on digesting food. It's focused on getting away from the threat. So therefore, our digestive system is compromised. We might have constipation, we might have diarrhea. We also are less likely to be able to absorb the nutrients that we're eating as well, because again, our body's not focused on that, it's focusing on staying away from that threat. And then also when we've got issues with skin, hair and nails, that can be linked to the thyroid. That can also be linked to lack of sleep, because sleep is so crucial in repair and growth. And also there was one more I was going to say about that, but I can't remember it right now. If I remember, I'll come back to it. Okay. Any questions on any of things so far? Yep.
You mentioned you need to excrete
The estrogen.
How?
I'm going to talk about that. So she was saying we need to excrete the estrogen, so I'll go on to talk about that shortly. Okay. All right, so when things go right, basically. So this is essentially what happened, the opposite of what I was just saying. So we're more able to manage our weight, and obviously weight is an individual thing based on your own genetic profile and your predisposition, but it's based on your own body shape. But we're more able to manage that weight, and we might hold weight, but we might not hold it around our middle. It might be around our thighs, our bum, our breasts, which is natural for women to do. We'll have more stable energy levels, one, because hopefully our hormones are balanced, we're getting good quality sleep as well, but also our insulin is managed, so therefore energy is being used by the muscles in an effective way. Used by our muscles in an effective way. Regular monthly cycles, because we balanced everything out as well. And when we're not stressed, our body can focus on those reproductive actions that need to happen as well. Okay. All right, so now we're coming to come to some solutions. We talked about the problems. We're going to come to some solutions now about how we can live in hormone harmony. And some of it has been touched on before, so I'm going to try not to repeat too much. But so Selim was talking about hormone disruptors just now. So I've got a bit around that. We talked about she was talking about hair care products. And I'll expand it a bit to talk about personal care products. So whether it's stuff that we're putting on our hair and our scalp, but also stuff that we're putting on our skin. So you might have heard that anything that we put on our skin is absorbed into our bloodstream within about 30 seconds. So if we're getting those endocrine disruptors in, it's circulating within our bloodstream alongside hormones and anything else that's in our bloodstream. So what we want to look at doing is using products that don't contain some of the things that was talked about before, the parabens, the SLSs, all those kind of things. So we're, as much as possible, using natural oils and butters in terms of moisturising. Castile soap is a soap that I personally like as well, that's made of oils. Sanitary wear, so Leah touched on that. So whether it's you're using pads that are organic, have cotton, no plastic, no bleach. Also look at using a menstrual cup like Leah was talking about. Also reusable sanitary wear as well. So then it's good for the environment as well and saves you money. Pesticides, so those are, they're involved in fruit and vegetable growth. So if we can avoid those as much as possible by eating organic where we can, if you can't, then rinsing your fruit and vegetables in a solution of vinegar and water will help to remove some of the pesticides that's on the skin. It won't remove, what's inside, but it will go some way. Artificial hormones as well, so that will come in. Well, actually, hormones in general will come in if you're eating. I think someone before talked about. So you're going to be taking on the animal's natural hormones anyway, and the video was saying that it was fine. Animal hormones, if you think about the size of a cow, so the cow has growth hormones, we have growth hormones. Cows need to grow to a massive extent, right? So we're taking on those hormones and we're taking in the cow's hormones, encouraging growth, which is humans, So this is what we need to be mindful of. And also some medications as well can interfere with our hormones as well. Then another thing we want to pay attention to is elimination. And elimination is about excreting those things out of our body, like your question now, going back to that question. So it's about excreting things out of the body. So making sure we're having regular bowel movements, and we can encourage that through high vegetable diet, high fibre diet.
What do you class as regular?
So I would say... Yeah, I would say it's different for each individual, but I would say at least once per day. If you're doing really well, then it might be after every meal, but I would say at least once a day. Yeah. And when it's coming out, it should be solid, it should be a log form, it should be easy to pass as well. Okay. Regular urination, so making sure that we are drinking enough to be able to urinate and get things out of our system as well. So this is what I'm talking about when I was saying about the third form of estrogen, making sure out of our system, so it's not hanging about and causing growth and disruption. Someone's phone. Anyway, and also sweating. So making sure that we are doing things that will encourage us to sweat, getting those toxins out through our pores as well. And also, one more thing about personal care items, we do want to sweat under our arms as well. So we want to be using deodorants as opposed to antiperspirants and letting those toxins out of our system. Detoxification, so that's about actually removing things from our bloodstream so that they can then pass through the liver and be excreted out and go through to elimination. So we want to support our liver to do the job that our body does naturally, which is detox. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're reducing the load on our liver, what we call. We want to reduce or avoid things like alcohol, coffee or caffeine, tobacco, sugar, canned drugs and medications. I'm not saying people should not take medication, but just where we can avoid what is unnecessary. So supporting our liver to do the job that it needs to do naturally. And just a point about the liver. So the liver produces bile, which is yellow, and generally foods or herbs will be supportive for the liver as well. So things like turmeric. Okay. And then sleep as well, because like I said, sleep is highly involved in repair, regeneration, and just getting waste products out of the body as well. And sleep is a key time when hormones are released into the body as well. So we want to make sure that is regulated. And then we want to focus on rest and digest. So rest in terms of relaxation, not just having relaxation time, me time, taking time out for yourself. And I know we probably heard the tips already. Getting out, whether it is going for a walk in the park or whether it is taking an Epsom salt bath, whether it's having just a shower. Sometimes for me, when I don't have time to have a bath, I have a shower, but I'll use essential oils and just flick some essential oils on the walls of the shower and just have a little bit of just breathe those essential oils in and just start my day in a good way. But managing stress as well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. optimizing gut health, so making sure we're taking in or we're eating in a way that that encourages healthy gut flora in our system. So that is by having a variety of vegetables which feed our gut flora, but also taking in that gut flora as well. So you can take it in various ways, whether it is, if you eat dairy, it will be things like yogurt and things like that. If you don't eat dairy, it will be things like sauerkraut, which is the Polish kind of cabbage thing, kimchi as well. I'm trying to think of some others, but I can't right now. Yeah, kefir, yeah, things like that. Okay, so when we want to focus on living in hormone harmony, I put up there in bold because I think stress is a key thing. It's something that by nature in the 21st century we are living with anyway. It's a part of our life and there's no avoiding it. But the key is about managing it. And one of the things that I like to think about when I think about stress is actually terming it in terms of life load. So stress doesn't have to be a bad thing. Stress can be a positive thing because it encourages us to think clearly and act promptly. But it's when stress goes on for too long, that's where the issue comes in. So what we want to do is actually look at our life load and think about what is the level of commitments that we've got in our life versus our capacity to deal with those commitments. Do we have the resources to be able to deal with all the commitments that we're facing? Are we taking on too much? So asking ourselves that question and being honest with it. If we find that we've got too much, where can we let go? Where can we delegate? Where can we get support? And really taking care of our emotional and mental well-being in that way. Okay, then we've got sleep. I won't go into that too much, so I've touched on that already. Movement, physical activity. So like Leah was saying, whether it is yoga, and you can combine movement and creativity and expression as well. So Leah was talking about that, we need to focus a lot more on, as women, being more creative and encouraging our feminine energy as well. So whether it is that, we combine the two and we do something like dance, or whether we look at singing, painting, whatever it is, making clothes, but something that's being creative, bringing out a creative expression. And when we're talking about expression as well, it's about opening up and talking and sharing. So as Black women, I believe personally that we tend to take everything on our shoulders and we believe that we can do everything. We take responsibility for things that aren't ours, and sometimes it's about pushing it back and managing what you can deal with. But where you need support, asking for help, and I know it can be hard, but asking for help, asking for support. If there was someone better able to do a job than you are, handing it over. And whether it is also journaling, talking to friends, family, or actual professionals as well, and seeking help through therapy or counselling, coaching, I encourage that as well. Okay, now I'm just going to talk about some nutrients to support hormonal balance. So vegetables, a multitude of uses and benefits all round. But yeah, vegetables, we want to focus on having a variety and having, a variety of vegetables, but also a variety of colours as well. Particular emphasis is on the dark greens. So, and it doesn't just have to be spinach and kale. It can be cabbage, it can be broccoli, it can be Brussels sprouts, spring greens. So yeah, we can switch that up as well. Protein. So again, quality and quantity. So sometimes we may be eating too much protein. I recommend that people eat 1/4 of a plate when they're having a main meal, dinner or lunch, 1/4 of a plate of protein. If you eat meat, making sure it comes from a quality source. So organic, grass-fed, or corn-fed if it's chicken. But also switching your protein up with plant-based proteins as well, whether it's beans and pulses and things like that. And whole grains. So again, it comes down to quality and quantity. So I advise people to have no more than 1/4 of a plate of carbohydrates in general. You can switch up your carbohydrates between whole grains and root vegetables like potatoes, sweet potato and things like that. But when it comes to whole grains, wheat doesn't just have to be it. So you can swap it out for things like rye and spelt when it comes to actual flours. Spelt makes good, you can still use it to make dumplings and things like that. And rye as well. And then we can have other grains as well. So alternatives to rice would be quinoa, bulgur wheat, buckwheat, kamut, things like that. Okay, and then we've got our phytoestrogens. So phytoestrogens are plant estrogens that come from plants. They have a mild estrogenic effect on the body. And what that means is that when you take them in, they will actually attach to our receptor sites in our body. That then encourages that third form of estrogen that I was talking about before to be excreted out of the body because the receptor site is taken up by this phytoestrogen. So phytoestrogens come in the form of pulses and beans, flaxseed oil and things like that. Antioxidants, so berries and things like that, just great for cellular health all round. And like I said, cells are the smallest part or smallest components of our body, so we want to be protecting those. Really good for managing toxins as well and any damage to our cells. And then healthy fats as well. Okay, so things we want to avoid, some of the things we've talked about already, but refined and simple sugars. So these will be white sugars or sugar that has been basically extracted from a fruit and processed and added to something. So we want to reduce or avoid those. In place of that, we want to go for natural sugars, so whether it comes in the form of fruits, dried fruits, and adding those to our foods instead. So, for example, porridge. I had porridge this morning. I added blueberries and dried dates in there for my sweetener, as opposed to something like honey. Honey's fine, but it is refined, and I want the fibre in there. When you keep the fibre in a food or a sweet food, it helps to balance out the blood sugar levels, so it doesn't spike your blood sugar like another food can. I'm going to close up now because I'm being given time, but you can see the other elements there. If you have any questions, please come and talk to me in the break. And these are some of my top tips here. So sleep, looking at your stress and life load, water to encourage detoxification, green leafy veg, creativity and self-expression, and then I added a final bonus there in terms of getting support, asking for help. Okay, that's how you can connect with me there. My Instagram and my Facebook is at Claudine J. Thornhill Nutrition, and that's my contact details there. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Claudine.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can do the woo, go ahead. Okay, so welcoming our next speaker to the stage before we go to our break. So we're going to be welcoming Abi Osho, the founder of Soul Medicine. Yeah. So Abi Osho is a holistic health coach. She's the creator of Empowering You Coaching. Abi is a clinical hypnotherapist specializing in emotional wellness. She's the author of Nature's Medicine for the Soul, a holistic health and well-being book for all the family. You can find Abi on Facebook at Abi Osho and Instagram Abi_Soul Medicine. And her website is soul-medicine.co.uk. Can we give a big round of applause for Abi?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's lovely to see you all here. So my name is Abi Osho. Hey. Yeah, love that, love that. So, thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Leah. I don't have a presentation today, so I'm going to be speaking to all of you freestyle. Yeah? And what I really want to discuss with you today is how you see or you understand the word empower. Now, I'm just going to rewind a little bit. So, when I created my coaching program, which is Empowering You, and it's a program for women that are really seeking clarity, confidence, and consistency, not only in the life that you're living right now, but in the life that you know you're truly here to live. And I'm absolutely passionate about this. I live it, love it, breathe it. So when you hear the word empower, and we hear it bandied around quite a lot these days, could you just call out for me what you believe the word empower actually means? What does it mean to you? Enable. Enable. Unapologetic. Claiming back. Strength. One more. Say that again. Authenticity. I'm sure there was some more. Thank you very much. So all of those words absolutely mean empower. The dictionary definition of empower means to give power. It means to give authority. So think about this for a minute. Do you give power to your health? Do you give power to your emotional mindset? Do you give power to your abundant mindset? So what is the opposite word to empower? Disempower. What does disempower mean? Weak. Suppress, putting down, absolutely. All of those words. So think again. Disempower. Do you give away the power of your health? Do you give away the power of managing your own emotions? Do you give away your authenticity of mindset? I just want you to sit with that for a second, because these are powerful questions. All the information we're hearing so far today, which has been absolutely phenomenal, by the way, but much of it starts with our unconscious mind. I'm a qualified clinical hypnotherapist. I do a whole range of things. I work with many, many women. Some of my lovely women are in the audience today. Really good to see you. And we've been on a journey, and we're on a journey still. But this is how our subconscious mind works. So 90% of what we think, what we feel, what we do is our subconscious. It's autopilot, it's automatic. You get up each morning. You get up on the same side of the bed. You go to the shower. You have your shower. You get in the car to work. You drive to work. You think, oh God, did I actually drive through a red light there? Can't even remember, because you're on autopilot. You get to work, boom, there you are. You come home, the same thing happens the next day. Or you might go and travel on the tube, bus or train, it doesn't matter. But your subconscious mind is 90% of your thought process. It is automatic. 10% of your mind is your conscious mind. So when you think you're making decisions with your conscious mind, you may think, right, season's gone, I want to lose 3 or 4 pounds by the end of March. Right, I'm going to try this diet, I'm going to make all these changes. I've heard all this amazing information from these wonderful people so far today. And you start off with every good intention. But your 10% mind is your logic brain. It's telling you, right, I want to go to this event today. What am I going to order to eat today? How am I going to get home? It's only 10% of you. You have to get your 90% on board. Now, your subconscious mind, which is linked to your limbic system, the seat of your emotion, what happens is it feels that it is your safeguard. It's there for your safety and security. It doesn't like change. So when you try to change, or when you do something new, it's going to resist. And it's going to be saying to you, Abi, I don't want to change. I'm quite happy as we are, actually. In fact, I'm really happy that you're 5 stone overweight right now. I love it. You know, I love all that feeling. It makes me feel so good. Let's not change things. Meanwhile, your 10% mind is saying, hey, I need to lose this weight. Your 10% mind is telling you something very, very different. But unless you've got the 90% on board, change isn't going to come. And that's the thing. Whatever we decide to do, first and foremost, and my ladies that I work with know, I am all about mindset, abundant mindset. Yeah? Living in the abundant moment. I'm about self-care, massive on self-care. And I'm about emotional wellness. Because our emotions are inextricably linked to our unconscious mind. And memories that you formed many years ago from a child, yeah, if you're still doing those same things, that's what you've been learned 20, 30, 40 years later, it's going to be really challenging for you to change that in a couple of weeks. You've got to work hard on doing that. It's not impossible, but I'm just being realistic with you. So when we think about memory, and I say it like this, we all have a hard drive. Everything's locked in there. Well, these days, actually, it's a cloud, right? So all of our memories, they're all stored in the cloud. And when you do something the same every day, day in, day out, it's retrieved from the cloud, you carry on, you live life as you've always lived it. But there comes a time, I think, in your life when you're thinking, you know what, this is not enough. This is not enough. I want to make changes, but I don't know how to go about doing it. And I know for many of you, even those of you that have been to my holistic health workshops, you have some incredible creative ideas. You are on point. And sometimes when we speak on our coaching calls, I'm blown away. Yet many of the times you're sat in a 9 till 5 that is no longer serving you, that is not helping you. You're getting paid a wage. You're just about maybe covering your bills, but there's this creative fire in you. And we are now in a new decade, right? This is the year 2020. This is the year of clear vision and purpose, people. Clear vision and purpose. Say it back to me. Yes. So this is your year. I'm telling you this from my heart. This is your year. The year to make changes now. When you're in such a new decade, when so many things are changing around us, you have the power to make those changes. Take back that empowerment. Get rid of those first 3 letters, dis, and take back your power. Because that's what you are here to do. You're here to share and create your amazing gifts and talents with all the sisters and brothers in this room and with everybody that is out there to do that. And I am here as an empowering you coach, which is why I created that program, to help you identify, clarify, maybe gain confidence, and not only that, be consistent in your approach. Because change is a thing that we can do tomorrow. Yeah? Our thoughts create our reality. We know that, right? So as you're thinking these thoughts, you are creating your own reality. We hear a lot of people talk about brands. Even for me, oh, Abi, Soul Medicine is a brand. Do this, do that, blah, 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 whatever. All simple for me. There are 2 types of brand. Low energy brand and high energy brand. What is your brand? If you're in a low energy brand and you're surrounding yourself with low energy brown people, you will stay in that space. One thing about energy, right? Energy is invisible. But as soon as you walk into a room and somebody's had an argument, you feel it. They don't have to say anything. You just feel it. Uh-oh, wrong room. I'm coming out of here. Yeah? You walk into that next room, yeah? People are laughing and joking. You're like, yeah, I like this room. This is a good energy room. I want to stay in this room. And it's very similar with the days and the way we live our life. You can choose to be in a low energy space. And when you choose to be there, you will attract low energy people. And they will drain you of energy that you have. Or you can choose to be in a high energy space. And once your energy starts to shift, naturally, those low energy individuals that will suck you dry of your energy, and we all have 1 or 2 of them in our lives, right? Can I get a yes? Yes. Absolutely, or maybe 3 or 4. But anyway, what will happen is they will start to drop away from you because they will energetically feel your mind shift. They will energetically feel that you are changing. They won't quite know, they can't put their finger on it, but they know that you're not in that space anymore. And you're opening up your energy flow. You're opening up for people to come in that are thinking like you, that are living like you, that are loving like you, and that are breathing in the same way that you are. And that's what you want to surround yourself with. So I always say, when you're thinking about changes, just remember this, yeah? As women, we tend to give until we're empty, and then we give away our empty. Yeah? We give away our empty. And what happens? We get sick. Nobody is indispensable. You get sick, they'll replace you at work with somebody else. Never be under the illusion, they can't do anything without me. Hello? Yes, they can. Yeah? Don't make yourself sick on somebody else's journey. If you're going to be sick or unwell, make it yours. Live it and own it. So for all of you creatives out there, when you're filling up your cup, and this is what I love to say because this is how I live my life now, I make sure that my cup is full and overflowing with good, positive energy. And I know that that emanates across everywhere I go and everybody I meet. And I love that. So in order for what it is you do, you make sure your cup is full and you share your overflow. Yes? What are we sharing? What are we sharing? What are we ensuring? Cup is full. Yes. Yes, yes, make sure that cup is full, okay? Because when you're in that energy space, you'll feel it yourself. You'll feel it in your body, your health. It's about mind, body, spirit, right? We are holistic beings. Nothing works in isolation. So you have to ensure that you give the body, the mind and the soul what it needs to grow and prosper. And then when you decide, you know what, I'm ready now. You've done the work, or we've done the work together. You're ready to create new stories. You naturally start to create new opportunities. I hear conversations all the time. Oh my God, Abi, guess who contacted me? Guess who I spoke to today? And I'm thinking, I know why that's happening, because your mind shift is moving. And those good energy people are being attracted by where you are and who you are right now. And when you get to that stage, and we are all on our individual journeys, and everybody will get there in their own time. There's no right or wrong, but just know it, believe it, and be thankful for it when it happens to you, because it will happen to you. And for me, I would love to be a part of that journey with you. If you're at a stage where you think, you know what, I need to get on to pastures new, I want new changes to come about, but I need to know a starting point on where to make that happen. I need to have an accountability partner to ensure that I make those moves, because this is about you creating the best story. And it's your story. And only you can live it, and only you can share the gift and talent that you have. I have 2 minutes left, and I'm very, very good with time. So what I want to do in my last 2 minutes, I just want to share some tips with you. My first tip is, if you don't meditate, if you're somebody that thinks I don't have time for that, let me just clarify for you. There were 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes in a day, people. Please don't tell me you can't find 5 minutes to meditate and ground yourself in the morning. No matter how you find it, yeah? 5 minutes. And I'm just talking deep breathing. Very, very simple. You can do it anyway. I'm not talking about automatic chest breathing, which is how most people breathe without realizing it. I'm talking about deep diaphragmatic breathing from here. Real breaths. Get the oxygen moving around the cells. Elevate yourself first thing in the morning. Secondly, maybe find a new way to work. Find something creative that you want to do, that you love, drawing, whatever it might have been that you do years ago. Bring it back into your life. Yeah, because life is about living and being joyful. Number 3, smile. Smile more. I can see some lovely smiles in the audience. Yeah, smile more. So look at this. I'm lifted already by looking at your lovely faces. Smile more. You do 3 things when you smile. You release 3 hormones: endorphins, dopamine and serotonin. These are your happy hormones, people. 3 in 1. Do it. It doesn't cost you anything. And the last thing, ladies, that I have to say to you, right, learn to say no. You know that, right? Yeah? When the word no is in your mind and somebody asks you to do something and yes trickles out, you're like, man, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say no. Learn to say no. You will feel absolutely empowered. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much for your time. Love and blessings. Come and see me. You can.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can we get another big round of applause for our very own Mrs. Motivator? Okay, so remember,